Otsu here. Who else would it be? This is Observations with Otsu for Monday, June 23rd. Hope you're having a good day. Took a break off for about a week or two with some of these videos, but we're back at it today. In this video, I wanted to look at mainly the big deviations and bearish retests that we are having across the markets. We're going to get into that. Is this a cycle top? I think we have the biggest chance yet to say that it is, but we will look at it. A few preliminaries as well. Let's get started. So, two things right off the bat. I'll keep them short. The first one is going to be my Patreon. If you are not in this, you can go ahead and join. I release videos uh, about 4 to 5 times per week. We're looking at various things as far as crypto. For this last video we did about 3 days ago, because of the weekend, we looked at DXY and how I think the DXY actually the dollar index looks pretty good in comparison to what it should be. So that's why I think the markets are also going down. And so that's you know here's just a really good example of what we look at. Just here's what we covered for this video: Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Sui, hype, the time frames, summary, and my levels that I'm looking at. And so we talk about these off and on. For the day previous to that was Bitcoin targets that I'm looking at. And so typically you get about 4 to 5 videos per week. And so that's helpful. There's also a Discord community that's linked to this. So when you sign up for Patreon, you also get the Discord as well, where we can chat. There's charts, there's signal bots, there's lots of things. It's a pretty comprehensive thing. My goal has always been to give a very comprehensive group for a very modest price, as that way everybody can be happy. No complaints. There's been very few complaints in the 4 years that I've been doing this. Um, so that's the first thing. Go ahead and join. I think you get 50% off for your first month as well. If you don't, let me know. DM me. I'll give you the a coupon or something like that. So, but that's my Patreon. The second thing is I got a new iteration of Apex Academy for 2025. This is something that I did a couple years ago. I meant to launch that. I meant to launch a 2024 version last year, but we had a lot of issues with my family, with hospital stuff. I had two family members in the hospital, so and that was took a big detour in my life. But this is a new thing for a new year, and so I'm getting ready to launch this here in about 3 weeks. And so my goal right now is just to get kind of a wait list to get some signups for this. Many of you probably already know what Apex Academy is, but I'm going to go into this if you don't. So the first things first is I have Apex stands for Arun Price Action and Exponential. That's the trading system that I have. It's also called the Arun trading system, where I have a complete trading system where I incorporate a hybrid of trades, mainly Arun, with a little bit of price action, momentum, and trend. And I use that as a complete system: how to enter trades, how to exit trades, how to stay in trades. I think most people have a problem with staying in trades. I don't think a lot of people have a problem entering trades because they just do it, right? They just click or whatever. I think they have a problem on how to enter trades, on what's the most opportunistic trade to enter. But I think a lot of people have problems with holding the trade because they either want to buy or sell instantly, or they use high leverage or whatever. So this is a complete system. It's a closed loop system for me. It's not proprietary. It's something that you can pick up and do yourself if you want to. Um, but entry, exit, take profit, risk management, it's complete with top to bottom with that. Second thing is kind of a full stack, quote unquote, trading education, where I go through the ropes. I teach all the basics to trading. That way, if you are unfamiliar, if you're a little bit beginner and you want to know, this is a really kind of a boot camp in itself. This would be valuable just for you if you are a beginner, because you'll learn everything from beginning to end, all the patterns you need, what price action is, what trend and momentum is, all of those things. You'll get to learn you'll pretty much all of that. Risk management is another thing, which is a smaller section of the academy, but it is something that I think people need to do correctly to trade properly, in my opinion. I think a lot of people understand what risk management is, but I don't think they understand how it works. We take a look at this in practice. We look at statistic models, things like that, to really get you to understand what that is. Now, the fourth one here I think is also crucial as well. Harness your trading personality. This is good for beginners and hobbyists and even some pro. Like in order to get to pro, you need to understand how you trade personally. I will trade differently than you versus your favorite influencer versus everything else. One of the problems people have about trading on crypto is they try to copy their influencers. This still happens. This happened when I joined in 2017. It still happens today. And one of the big issues is people don't understand that you have your own system. Like you have your own way to trade. You have your own strengths, you have your own weaknesses, and you need to harness those. You need to work with those, not against those. Okay, and so just because you see someone else trading high leverage scalping doesn't mean it works for you. That was my thing. I tried to scalp and I got really burned on my second year in crypto because I thought I could work with this, and that's not how I trade. I learned my own system, which is the Arun Apex trading system, right? And so I'm going to teach you how to find your own way to trade with your own system. That way, once the academy ends and years down the road, you can find your own system. Maybe your system is just trading part time. Okay, because you might find out you actually like to work, you just don't like aspects of work. You don't like clocking in and out all the time, or whatever, or you don't like doing manual labor or whatever. So you'll learn how to do this. Okay. The fifth one here is new. This one's brand new. Learning how to use AI. So I put AI in prompt market analysis, but really what this means is I'm going to teach how to use AI with trading. I think that's something that doesn't get focused a lot, and when it does, it's like, oh, how to make a bot, how to scalp, or how to do this arbitrage. That's not what I'm going to teach you. What I am going to teach is how to use this from day to day, where it could be even I'm not going to go into details making bots, things like that, but I will venture into how to use prompts. And yes, that we'll get into ChatGPT and other, like Anthropic, or was it Claude? All these other ones, Grok as well, and learn how to do a really advanced analysis in those things, because those can help you. Those are tools available to you, and a lot of them can be used daily for free. And so I think that that's very valuable. And then also lectures and workshops. That's kind of a combination of all of these. I will have lectures every week with workshops, things like that. You're also going to get free access to my Apex indicator. It's $400 per year to look at that. And that's my script that has the entries and the stop losses, everything like that. This one has been very beneficial. I had a comment a couple weeks ago how I helped someone make a lot of money with stocks doing that. Okay, and it's good to know. It's good to know. So that also comes included with this academy. Um, then this is only like 4 to 6 weeks. I haven't decided if I have too much content, it'll be 6 weeks. But I'm looking at somewhere between 4 to 6 weeks. And so you'll get access to these scripts, and you're also going to get access to our Patreon as well. And the Patreon will be also, I forgot to add this here, but the Patreon will be included for free if you enroll in the Apex Academy. You also have free access to the Arun Pro Terminal. That is a upgraded version of what I have now, which is my Arun bot system. I'm kind of just letting that grow into a terminal now. That's always been kind of my plan, is to have an Arun based terminal. Now I'm kind of getting that. That's good. That's a $300 value for the year. An interactive trading journal, which is going to be not just a lot of people just want to trade journal on a notebook, and that's completely fine. I think that's valuable, but this is going to have different questions that you can ask and things like that to learn how to trade better. Your goal should be always improving. That's what Apex Academy is, to try to improve. And an AI trading cheat sheet, basically some prompts and other things like that to kind of help you get some examples for when you try to trade with AI. Get lifetime access to these lectures. You're going to get links for these and hopefully downloads. And also, I will have my DMs open in a special channel for 1 year of support. After the 1 year starts after the academy is over. So I think that's a pretty good value. These alone here are probably like 850 bucks. Okay, I haven't exactly priced the Apex Academy, but I think I do have the price. It's on my wait list. It's in the link in the description. I want to say it's roughly like 300 and $80. And so, but go ahead and check that out to make sure it is in there. You will get the price before you sign up. There's a WAP wait list that if you want to be on the wait list, you can join. You have to put your card on file, but you can pay crypto as well. So, but go ahead and check that out. I would love to have you. There are a limited number of seats. I think I'm capping this at like 30 people because I want to. I really want this to be a close knit thing. You don't have to talk in the academy, but I do think it's very beneficial. You probably get 10 times your worth out of that if you communicate with me, so that way I can understand your strengths, weaknesses, things like that. So, but you can access this on your own, and you don't have to talk to me directly. But anyway, I think it's important, but that's up to you. So anyway, that is Apex Academy 2025. Again, waitlist is in the description. And so that's it for the preliminaries. Let's get to the charts. All right, so back onto the trading view. I'm going to keep this a little bit short as far as this goes. I really wanted to get into detail with the total market caps, everything, and I think I'll try to do that still. But I'm just going to go through these a little bit shorter as I would normally would. The biggest thing that I have for the outset here is on Bitcoin, which we'll get into. But we have the deviation here, and I think this is a very key region that I'm really focusing on. But I do think this little bitty notch here is very important. I'll explain this a little bit more in Bitcoin section, but this is the forefront. If you don't watch anything else in this video, this is what I want you to look at because this dictates the supply and demand. And so when we have something like this, okay, where we went back into the inside of this, this creates a deviation from the demand here. So that we have the demand here, but it overstretched. We have a bearish divergence here as well. So that also plays into it. But that tells us that the demand was not genuine. It's more complicated than that. But that's basically how we can boil that down. It wasn't as genuine as we probably anticipated it at the time. And so now we have to fight against this. This is a retest deviation. So what we need to understand is if we can recover this, that's great. That shows that the demand is real. Okay. If it isn't, then it fails. The key for complete failure here is going to be about 98,254. That's going to be the level where we completely fail off of the 3-week, not the 2-week or the 1 week, but the 3-week here. I mean, the reason I say this is because there's 3 time frames that show this weakness. That's why this is so critical. And the bearish div here is also very critical. We had that actually right here as well. And we actually had this also here in 2021. So this could end up 2 ways. One, it could end up with this deviation, or divergence, I should say. This was your deviation down here to like 49,000 on the 3-week, and that led to the capitulation that we had. This here was also a push up. This was also a deviation, but this consolidated for about 8 to 9 weeks. So are we going to get the cycle top, or are we going to get the 8 to 9 week consolidation, or maybe not even 8 to 9 weeks, just are we going to get the consolidation, or are we going down for a drop here? I'm personally looking at for a consolidation. If the consolidation does happen, the rest of June is going to be pretty bad, which is almost over anyway. July is probably not going to be too well either, and then August is probably going to be mid at best. Okay, that's kind of what I'm looking at. I think we might get a push up after that in September and beyond. Have a really healthy Q4. That's personally what I think will happen. I'm hoping that it does. The alternative would be that we have this cycle bottom. And so if that occurs, then that's it. That's the thing. We got to wait for a drop, and it all starts over again. And so that's where I think this runs into a crucial standpoint. Is that we've had a pretty good run up thus far, and there are reasons to believe that we could top here. Now, the only thing that really prevents this is a weird time issue. Like we don't really top in June. That's not really a thing. Okay, so I say that here, and we actually looked at May. So this top here was in October, and so this one here was like December, and so you could even make a point for very late November, but it's December. So it's very interesting to me how that could play out. So we'll see. We I would say we could get something like this, but we've already had something like this, and so that's where we'll see where it goes. Another issue here is that we went pretty high on the RSI here, about 91 for the blast top. We're not even close here, but we do have that divergence in play. I think that's very key. Focus on the divergences. Nobody does. I focus on it consistently. It has worked for me, and that's kind of where I think that should be. Kind of look at this, see if this. Okay, this doesn't even get close either. So I was wondering if it could be like a trend thing, but this is possible too. I have a theory too that I think crypto is kind of weakening to stocks, and so I especially for those of you that think the markets are correlated to stocks and Bitcoin, that should actually scare you. I don't know why people really want to focus on that. And so if you do, it's fine. If you believe there's correlation, that's fine. That's not the stance I take. But if that's the stance that you take, you should be very concerned because that basically means stocks are swallowing crypto. Okay, and that means crypto as a whole will be gone, like gone. And so that also raises to the thesis that this current cycle has been pretty piss poor relative to previous cycles. I mean, pump fund really knocked the liquidity out, and so there's a lot of coins that just are not even worth your time anymore. So I think that's something that needs to be focused on. If you gravitate towards that correlation to the stocks, this should scare you. It really should, because that means you know crypto as a whole is getting sucked into Wall Street. Okay, and that's going to be terrible. And because Bitcoin was meant to be more than that, crypto was meant to be more than that. And so anyway, we'll see how that goes. But that's the high time frame. I'm going to go to other assets first. So I'm going to look at DXY and then total market cap 123. We'll go back to Bitcoin for some detailed analysis on like the 1 day. All right, so I want to start with the total market cap first. We'll briefly hit these total 1, 2, and 3. Go to DXY, then we'll revisit Bitcoin, go to Ethereum and Solana, and end the video after that. But with this here, one of the key things I want to look at, we had the push up to the upside here back in December. That's obviously been about 6 months or so now. Big key thing that I've looked at, I mentioned this before, you had your order block section here, you had your retest at the mid, so we're still in the middle of this retest here. And so you have a few levels that I am looking at for this. Here you have the swing high order block to go down to about 2.9. And I did a little bit of briefing on this, I think, in the last one that we might drop like 10% across the board. I think we might actually done that already. But this is about a 4.3% drop to that one. The next level would basically be this gap level right here, incorporating a couple candles. Probably just put this a little down here. And the top of that would be about 2.65. And so I think that we could go that low. It's very possible, especially if this continues to run down like it looks like it's doing. If it is, it's about 13% across the board. That's going to be pretty devastating for a lot of altcoins. I think a lot of people don't understand, and maybe they do, that total market cap is mostly Bitcoin. Okay, and it's a little bit of Ethereum. But Bitcoin is the big key thing here. So you probably have to take for granted that this is a conservative target for Bitcoin, or an aggressive one for Bitcoin, but a conservative one for alts. I think alts could be much worse. Usually they are, because the liquidity gets out. Now, liquidity has actually changed in the cycles over time because of things like pump fund, where a lot of people just expect coins to go to zero now. And because they expect things to go to zero, they don't sell. Okay, and because they don't sell, they don't typically go to zero as much as they used to. Now, a lot of coins do go to zero because of scams, things like that. But a lot of people that buy them, I think, don't realize that, like, there's no reason to sell them anymore necessarily. Because what are you going to sell them go into? People are already invested in Bitcoin and fiat and stable coins, things like that. But a lot of people with the expectation to go to zero, they don't sell them. And so they actually don't go down as much. They still go down bad, but not as much. So look for this for the total market cap. Those are my levels for that. Total 2, we'll take a look at this here. You already had the rejection here. This did not come up to this order block here. It didn't even get close. Rejected here. This is the impact that Bitcoin has. We'll look at Bitcoin dominance as well, but this is the impact that it has here, because without Bitcoin, this market has already has been downward for quite a while, and it's not even strong here. It has the same strength. It has the same chart basis as like with Total One with Bitcoin, but it's much weaker, and that just shows you how strong Bitcoin has been, and the dominance chart will show that. So let's go to Total 3, um, and go right here, and so you can see here where this had the same retest here. So with or without Ethereum, it doesn't matter too much, but we had the trend line here. We're hitting this. This is a key level here at about 765 billion market cap. So this is a key reaction. If this comes down, the next level is going to be 727. Next level after that is going to be the mid of this here, about 591. So we could get a pretty strong reaction. That could be as much as like 23%. So that shows you the levels, the 12% versus total 1, 23% versus total 3. I would assume an average loss of 23% on altcoins, not including Ethereum. It might even be worse for some of you all. I'm just saying, like, I don't think now is the time to um, I don't think now is the time to really look at altcoin like micro caps. So we'll see. There's always a chance that it can work, but this is why I tell you guys, these influencers, like you have a very popular influencer hunt to you a $300,000 market cap that went up to like 70, 80, 100 million. And in my opinion, it's pretty dirty to shill a market cap that you know will pump because of your voice. So anyway, so that is the total market cap 123. Let's go ahead and go to DXY. And actually, you know what? I'm going to go to Bitcoin dominance. I did say I was going to do that. So let's go to dominance chart here. We've looked at this so many times, but I'm looking at this from a 2-week perspective. So we actually pushed above the zone. We actually pushed above that. I was looking for a rejection here, and we actually did not get it. And so it's very sad to see this. It's not sad to see it necessarily. From a Bitcoin perspective, Bitcoin, we're still doing pretty good. I think a lot of people don't understand we're still at 100,000 Bitcoin. That's still really, really, really good. That's very good. But the thing is, alt season is now paused, and this looks like this is going to continue to rally upwards. And going back to the weekly here, or was it the 2-week I was on? We could go to 70% on the dominance here. And the thing is that very rarely goes up. Let's go to the 2-week because I think that's where I was referencing. We haven't gone above roughly 70. This was at 71.50 since basically July 17 or May 17. So we'll see. We'll see how this goes. Is this a big Adam and Eve structure? That could be possible. Wouldn't be the weirdest thing I've seen, but that is completely possible. We do have a bear div on a lot of the time frames here for the dominance chart, so that's something to keep an eye on. So all right, so let's I'm gonna take a brief break off screen. We're gonna look at DXY next. All right, so now we are on the DXY. We're gonna look at this from different perspectives here. And this kind of goes back and forth. This is not meant to take like holistically like you would a normal chart like Bitcoin with cycles. I don't view, at least I don't view the DXY as a cycle type chart. Doesn't make sense to me. Maybe you could help me figure that out. But so one thing I see here is on the monthly, you kind of have some structure here. So I'm kind of working with this. And so you have your basic midline. This was a deviation that we had back in 2017. Had your retest here, push to the upside, another consolidation, downward move. So this is where we are right now. We have gone below the mid structure here, roughly just under 100, about 98.63. And so that's a very key thing. One thing I want to look at here for the ARN on the monthly, you had a high bullish cross and you have a high bearish cross. So you have conflicting crosses as well. And so unfortunately, we don't really get much to work with this. And so really, in the past 5 years, past 3 years, we've been kind of stuck within the zone. This was your pre-COVID move. This is your post-COVID move, and so we're kind of stuck in this time frame right here, right? So that's gives us some conflicting data. But if we go zoom into the weekly here, one thing I want to see is, and I've already kind of marked this out here, is we've had a bullish divergence here, and this is a very key thing for me. We've also had that here at the mid, and so this gave us a pretty good move to the upside. This is another one right here, and this does tend to be the case when we have drop downs. We with divergences. So like if it's at the low on the RSI, we get the divergence. They do tend to rally up. So that's kind of what I'm looking for here. I'm actually looking for a reclaim of this zone, maybe a reclaim of like just a little over 100, like 145 or so, and that would give us a good move to the upside. And I think this could fuel what I'm looking at bearishly for crypto for the next 2 to 3 months. And so we'll see how that goes. But I do think a divergence with the low marker here at about 28, 29, I think that is something that we need to take seriously here. And so, and that may, that may also affect stocks as well. So we'll see how that goes. But I do think this plays into it. I'm looking for that divergence. I'm not fooled at all by the current drop down on this. Again, I don't take this as methodologically as other charts, but I think this is crucial, and we could get that run up. So we are a little bit green right now, so we did recover. So anyway, so that is DXY. Let's get into Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. All right, so for Bitcoin, we already covered the 2 week, 3 week, so I'm not going to go into that too much. I will cover the 1 week and then kind of scroll down a little bit. So we had your we had the this is your swing order block here. We have the deviation to the downside, so very similar to the 2 week, 3 week chart on that. As far as Aaron, you have a bearish consolidation after a high bullish cross at 62%. Had a pretty good cross here, but now we have no follow through with that. So now the bears are in control of the momentum. They don't have the trend, but they do have the momentum, and you have about a 40%, 43% gap with that, and so that's pretty moderate, I'd say. This is, to me, some of this just looks typical price action. And I'm not fooled if this swings back and forth one way or the other. I'm just kind of letting this go. We are above the Aaron band here, so that's a good sign. With this, you have an order block structure here. Okay, and as long as we hold the mid at 98.9, I think we're okay. Okay, and so I am concerned, like I said, about that 2 week, 3 week deviation. That will take some time to play out. We need to get above 103 on the 2 week to really make that work. So hopefully it's all a fake out deviation. We can work with that. The weekly still looks okay, despite the fact we had this. This is a current deviation, right? So this is bad. But if we can recover, what we want to recover is 104,350 on the weekly. So roughly somewhere between 103.5, I think it's like 103.2. So like somewhere between 103 to 104 and a half. And usually I want to round up to make sure we break that. So 104, 400 really is the target. I'm all over the place, so I apologize. But 104, 400 is the main dollar target I'm interested in for the weekly to recover all of this. Now, if it does, that's pretty good. It's not as strong as other ones, but it's an order block based deviation, not a complete market deviation, which is still would be bullish, especially now because we don't want any bearish price action right now, honestly. But we'll see where it goes, and that's it for the weeklies. Now for the daily here, a little more complex. Actually, we had the double top here, as we know. We had kind of a somewhat divergent nature of this on the low side, about 75,000. Then you had your retest here, and so now we're kind of in this zone. So the thing that's very interesting is we actually closed below this level too, and that's why I'm not too concerned about this, even though this looks green today. I said this in the Bitcoin brief I recorded earlier. Green candles are not necessarily bullish candles. You really need to be clear when you look at that. Okay, and red candles aren't necessarily bearish candles either, because a lot of people look for red candles to get a better entry, right? And well, the bears do too for green candles. Okay, so the next level to be concerned about is actually the midline of this next level or down here. And so that incorporates this mid structure with a retest break here. And so the 98.4 to the mid side, 96.9 to the mid, or to the middle of that, 98.4 to the top, I should say. So apologize. We had a low bearish cross, but this actually worked out pretty good. But we do have a high consolidation. This is a 92 percentile. It's very strong. Bulls have a really good chance to recover this. What tends to happen is, so since you have 98%, you have 92%, you divide that by 7, because Aaron works in 7% increments, and that's just the math that it works out for. And so you have like what 10 days plus 2, so you have like 12 days. So what tends to happen is we still continue to run down for the first half of that. So let's say 4 to 6 days, and then we bounce. And so that's something that I would be interested in too. If we drop down for, like, let's say the rest of this week and we still hold 98.4, I am interested in a bounce because of the way the consolidations work. And so we'll see how that goes. But that's pretty much it for the daily. So let's go ahead and go to Ethereum and Solana, and we'll round out this video. All right, let's go on to Ethereum. Now, I want to look at briefly the 2-week chart for this as well. It had the push up here against demand, rejected here. So basically same boat, not quite a deviation, but it's still going below this bar currently at like 22.86. Still think that's key. We're still continuing this kind of downward price action sort of aspect. Now, the 1 week is a little bit interesting because we had a sideways price action here for about 6 weeks or so, had the drop down here, and the 2 levels here on the daily are really also for the weekly. And I'll mention these here. We've talked about these before, but 2142 for the first one on the top side, and then 1872 for these. And these are the markers that I'm looking at. This is kind of like this is pretty weak still right here. Needs to get above 2412 to really give us an impact. But I think that we are going to come back down here. These are the levels to look out for. This one here below it, like 1862, is a key level for me. That's going to be probably an interest in the next couple months if we start to go downward here. But I still think the market looks a little bit bleak. I don't know. I don't think the market looks as good, on paper as it does right now. I do think that we're going to head downward still. And so that is Ethereum. I want to cover briefly Solana as well. This just doesn't look good as well. We have a retest possible here at like 125. Otherwise, we're going to probably hit this retest breaker at 106. That's something that is looked at here with a short. I looked at this on X earlier today, that we're hitting this 107 possibly target. We have an interest in this as well. I want to go back up to the weekly because this order block here is also encapsulates that 106 that I was talking about. Have the bearish consolidation with that. Bullish breaker here as well. These all tend to match up for me. That's why I'm not convinced that this is just over. I mean, the markets are barely up 1 to 2% depending on the asset. Like there's some like Sonic that are up 7, and there's some that are up double digits. I think, like IP is at 16 or so. But I mean that doesn't necessarily give us any indication of anything. Like I said, green candles aren't necessarily bullish candles, but it could be. I'm not saying that it isn't necessarily either, but we need to play this off from like a confirmation perspective. A lot of these coins are in no man's land, especially Ethereum and Solana here. And so we'll see how this goes. Anyway, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it. A little bit longer today, but I had a lot more to cover, and I took a couple weeks off from these. So let me know what you think. Again, if you're interested, sign up for my Patreon. Sign up for Apex Academy. Would love to have you. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.